Alright, so I want to start this new playthrough here of Conquer Lands. And Virtual Fable were kind enough to provide me with a Steam key for this after I think it was the Next Fest demo from October, I think it was. Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed playing it so far. Functions a lot like, you know, deck builders, roguelikes like Slay the Spire. There's a few differences. I'm going to get that in when I start this here, but I'll give a breakdown when I get into the actual first round on how this plays when it goes through. There's a tutorial as well that just goes through a bunch of some screenshots. It was really no problem to follow that as well. But we've got our Lord of Varnoth Castle here. Start with 78 health and some gold. And we have 2 special abilities. So when we activate a Rage, I'll get into that later when we see our character more. And we gain 2 block with infantry units. Also, I'll get that as soon as we get to the next screen here. So we're going to embark. So at the beginning here, you can see this is our special abilities. We'll gather these later on as well. We can carry 3 potions. We've got our tactical map, which we won't be able to click until we get to choose our ability here. And then we have our deck of cards. You know, kind of like a Slay the Spire. We've got some blocks, some attacks, and then decks, and then attacks also. Give the opponent vulnerable. You might notice there's an even word here. Well, there are 2 parts about the card that are the most important. Is this square here, square, rectangle, octagon shape, and the bottom row here. Anything with a blank can be used with anything. For example, here is the other half of our deck. We have 2 decks to work with in this game. We've got our deck of cards and we have our units. This composes of our army as we go and conquer this area of the world. They're composed of different types of units. We've got our infantry, our archers, and our cavalry. They each have a number between 1 to 6, and those numbers will determine if we can use, or the icon down here will determine if we can use a card on it. So for example, these 2 armor pierce cards can only be used by even units. Anything else here is odd or even, doesn't matter. The other most important thing is this bottom row here. The blue is us. So when we gain block, you know, this gives us block. The enemy that we will fight are in 3 positions. You can only deal damage, for example, with this attack card, if the enemy is in the first position here. For example, this one deals damage to the second position one, and this one will deal damage to the position in the furthest back. So you gotta pay attention when you use your offense cards of what position they're in. I'll go more into that when we actually see the game through. So we got 2 choices here. We can either gain max health, or we can add a card to your deck and lose 50 gold. Well, this is a random card. I don't know what this card is. And I might want the 50 gold later on to buy other stuff. So I'm going to take the 10 max. There we go. Now here is our map. So first of all, we're going to select a region that it's our home base. It's our starting region. This basically determines what other regions you will be able to conquer because they have to be next to it. So for example, if we choose this as our home region, we can only select these 3 as our next choice. Or if we choose this one, we've got a greater choice. You have to go through and conquer all of these, and then you will unlock the next character in the progression. There are 3 classes to choose from, and we are the starting class. So I'm just gonna choose this one. So here's our start war region. We've got this one. This is our home base. As you can see, these are all grayed out, and we've got our 3 regions here to choose from. I'm just gonna go through. We're just gonna go to a top loop here, I guess. So we can hit back. We can't click on any of this though. We can only choose the one we've just decided to go for. But like other roguelikes, we essentially have 3 paths until the end. We've got different locations here. Here's a little our map key. It's really nice. The map key highlights what the locations are. Currently, there are no elites at the moment. There's some enemies. Rest. Oh. Also with rest, you can also smith your cards. I think I will choose this one just to show that function. Merchants. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can go buy stuff. Potions, new cards. You can buy new units. You can destroy a card, destroy a unit, you know, similar to Slay the Spire. And then unknown, it could be any number of things. So let's get through, we'll go through this, up to this on this first video here. So here's us. We've got 88, we're Lord of Varnoth Castle. Here's our Rage. Now, when we take damage, this goes up. Once we take 30 damage, we can activate our Rage power. When we activate our Rage power, we gain 15 block for that turn, and then, you know, it disappears. Block only lasts for the one round, and then it disappears. You can see the 3 enemy positions here. They'll start in any number of these, and you will see they've got health, 29 health, and their ability, what they're going to do in the coming turn. Lord Grisvin here is going to attack me for 8 damage. Here is our draw units that are still in our deck, and our cards, which are still in our deck, that are coming up. We've got our hand here, and our units that we can use. We also have, I guess, villagers, which can come into play later. There are currently no cards that use villagers right now that I have in my deck, but there are cards that do. And there are 2 things we can do during the battle here. So here, we can change one of my units here randomly. And I think it's with one of the ones that's still in my deck, if I understand that correctly. It will cycle through with one of the ones in my deck still. The other thing here is this little 6. So you can see I've got a little, my numbers I have said earlier here. These numbers, before they were really only applied to even, right? There are some cards, and especially this position change, have a number to them. You can deploy your units in this area to essentially, like, I don't know, flank the enemy, I guess, because they're forced to reposition. You can reposition them yourself. It's not something the AI does. You do it. This goes up after every time you use it, and it resets once we clear an area. So currently, I've got 3 defend cards and an attack. Now my other special ability is I gain 2 block with infantry. So if I use my archer here on my block, I'm going to gain 5 block. Same with my cavalry. I'm going to gain 5 block. However, my infantry, when I use it to block, I gain 7. Because it's considered an infantry class, so I'll gain 2 extra block with that. Currently, my 1 attack will do 6 damage to the middle section, which means I can use it right now. It'll whiff. Nothing's going to happen. So the best that we can do is, do I even have a 6? I do have 2 6s, just to check, make sure. I don't, maybe it does random. Okay, never mind. It is completely random. It's not dependent on what's in my my infantry pool, or my unit pool. Well, good news is, I've got a 6. So instead of using multiple characters, I only need to use 1. So I'm going to use this archer. Now in this phase here, I can freely move there are more than one, they could switch positions. I can freely move them as long as I want until I play a card. At this point, I think I will attack. We'll do 6 damage. I'll gain a block. And I've got 2 guys left. So this is where, you want to think about, because now I can gain an extra 5 block, and that's just going to negate everything he's going to do. Or, because I've got 6 cards, 4 of these cards are going to show up in my next hand, right? And if I look where he's positioned, he's in the middle spot. Currently, there are no attacks for the middle spot. I've got 2 just attacks in the back slot, and then 3 in the front. So instead of blocking all of this, I'm going to use my 3 guys here to reduce the position change. So hopefully I can just get a 5 or one of these 6s and only have to use 1 unit to position change, and then I can use the other 4 to hopefully make some big attacks, move it right here. So we'll see. I'll be taking the 1 damage. There we go. He's changed. He's going to do 10 damage now. He's going to shuffle an exile into my draw pile. My draw pile basically is going to be, it's a dead card essentially. So I've drawn 3 attack cards, and I've got only 1 block. Good news is I've got plenty of guys here. I want to be able to use both of these, which means I need even cards. I need even units. Well, I've got 2 of them right here. That's it, though. I also have a 5. Luckily, I drew this 5 as well. And then I can use this to block for 7 and do 1 last attack for 6. So let's do it, alright? I'm going to move him to the front, use my first infantry, 8 damage. Now he's got vulnerable, he's going to take more damage. You can see it's highlighted right here. And you can actually, because of that, I don't even need to worry about blocking anymore, because you can see the damage has been updated because he now takes 50% more damage. If I were to hit him again, it just provides, it doesn't, it increases the vulnerability, the duration of it. It doesn't give it even more. So now he's down to 3. I could go to block. There's really no point, because I'm just going to attack him and finish him off right there. That's the end of that. I'll gain some gold. I can add a unit to my army. So when you choose your units, I can go back right now. You can look through this is what I've got. From what I've found, it caps out at 6. It goes from 1 to 6. I haven't seen anything that goes higher than 6, or any way of getting it higher than 6 either. I've also seen cards that will, even, some cards that require odd, and I've seen a few cards which has to have a minimum of a 3 to use it, or a max of a 3 to use it. So if you want to have some lows and some highs, unless you don't want to have any of the those cards in your deck, then you don't need to worry about you don't need to worry about the low numbers. So generally, I don't like to have the low cards in the deck anyway. I like to go for the high numbers because of the fact that reposition the enemy goes up every time you want to do it. And if you get a hand where you've got 1 attack on 1 and then 2 attacks in another position, it's really difficult to choose from. So I'm going to go with the 6 here, and we're going to add a card. We've got a couple new things. We've got an attack. I've got plenty of those already. We've got this card right here. Look at this. It's literally the same card, but we draw an extra unit to use it. This is essentially a basic card. Warcry is essentially just the same card, but better. And then we also have Plague here. So this gives us 1 strength, which increases our damage, and it will provide a poison for 2 turns to the enemy in the back here. Well, I'm going to draw this because drawing an extra unit is very useful. Drawing extra cards, extra units is very useful in this game. So here's our rest spots. We've got our rest. We can heal ourselves 26 health. We're only down 1. But the thing I want to talk about here is the smith. So if I remember correctly in some other of these deck builder games, you go and you upgrade a card and you're like, alright, cool, I can upgrade the card. Here we go. Fair enough. Gonna go from 5 block to 7 block. Cool. We can do that twice. But there are some cards, like these attack cards here, have 2 different upgrade paths. This Warcry has 2 different upgrade paths. We have a choice. We can upgrade it. It's going to do 10 damage and it'll provide vulnerable for 3 turns. Cool. Extra damage, extra vulnerable. Great. Conversely, we can make it so we will hit multiple locations. So we don't have to worry about repositioning the enemy so much. Because if we've got every location here on all our attack cards, we don't have to reposition. However, there's no way that I found you're not going to be able to upgrade all your stuff. You're going to have to pick and choose if you want to go with the wide or the tall, essentially. And it's kind of good to have at least, you know, double up on some cards, right? So I'm gonna go with the wide with this one. There we go. Now when we draw this card, we can use it on either location. Okay, we will proceed. We will get a treasure here. Some more gold. Here's a health potion. Health potion we can use at any time on our turn. And we've got one of our relics, like Empire Legacy is what they're called here. So after each war, we are going to gain 5 gold. Alright, next battle. Now I see here, I've got my new armor pierce here. It will hit both of these locations. So if he was in either one, don't need to move him. But I think what I want to do is move him anyway to this middle location because I can hit him with an armor pierce and a war cry. I won't be able to hit him with the attack because it's only get it in the back. And currently he's just going to buff his 2 strength, so we don't even about to defend ourselves right now. So we'll move him to the middle. We will use the one even unit I have. There's a chance I could, if I had no even, I can randomly change it. Sometimes it works, sometimes I don't get lucky. There we go. And now we can do 9 damage and we'll draw a unit, which kind of not necessary. But because we drew another 6, what I can do is move him to the back and now hit him again for another attack. Now see, it's gone up. It went from 6 to 8 to 10 now. And now this block just goes into my deck for later. Alright. Good news is I've got both attacks into the front position. Bad news is it's going to be hard to get to the 10 right now. He's going to hit me for 8 right now. And he'll buff himself with 2 extra strength. Well, what I need to do is find some either high numbers or even numbers. That works out perfectly. So let's see here. I can use a 6 and a 5. And then a 6. I would like another high number, please. That'll work. Alright. So let's move him, shall we? Yes. We're going to move him to the front. Before I attack it, I make sure this goes in the front. This also goes in the front. Use my 1 even. Do some damage. Unfortunately, he's gonna have 1 hit point. Now, at this point, do I want to deal the 1 or save myself 1 hit point? Let's look what I've got coming up here. I've got 2 attack cards. I just need 1 of them to succeed. Unfortunately, I want to change positions. Unless I get lucky, and one of these, for example, this one, or this one, cycles back through. And then, of course, I'll need to have these 2 are low numbers. But hopefully, I will have my discarded units then will cycle back. We've got a couple of big numbers. So I'm actually going to block right now. We're gonna block. With the 8 damage, nothing's gonna happen. Now he's gonna do 9. He's gonna try to shuffle Wounded into my discard pile. It's basically a useless soldier. Luckily, we did get this, which means we've got enough damage to take him out in 1 turn. Do we have an even? Yes, we do. There we go. Need some more gold. I will gain another 6. And what do we got here? We got another war cry. We've got another attack, and we've got an antidote. I will take the antidote because there are some times when an enemy does nothing and I've got, you know, I don't need to attack or anything, or there's situations where I don't want to attack because it's got some kind of like thorn ability and it hits me back. Plus, you know, it's a little bit of healing. It's not going to save me, but, you know, it helps out. And I think on the first zone you choose, there's no boss at the final here. Yes, there is. Okay. Sometimes that final position does have a boss you have to fight. Usually some sort of elite. So, that's it for this first video of this. I will continue until either I finish this war, this conquest, or I die trying. We'll see. Maybe I'll get lucky and I'll actually complete it this time. But that's it for now. And yeah, thanks again for providing me the Steam key for this.